Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the 2023 Piedmontese Association show. I'd like to thank everyone for attending our show today. I'd like to thank our sponsor, Lone Creek Cattle Company, for their sponsorship. We've got a good group of cattle coming in here today. I'd like to thank all of our show folks for bringing out a select breed of cattle today for the show. We're trying to get everybody in the ring here, so we'll get going here in just a few minutes. But thanks again, everyone. Once again, welcome everyone to the show. At this time, I'd like to introduce our show judge, Ms. Jeremy Viator of Texas. Jeremy is a lifelong beef producer. She was raised on a family farm in Louisiana and has worked in genetic and marketing management for some of the nation's largest ranches, including Camp Cooley, Silver Spur. She now hangs her hat in Houston, Texas, as she balances her day job with Westway Feeds while managing her family's cow herd and putting on youth cattle clinics in her free time. An accomplished livestock judge, we look forward to her appraisal of these great Piedmontese animals today. We'll start our show with the youngest female class. It's full-blood Piedmontese. And starting out the class, we have number 4286, HVK Ohio. We have 4292, LVC Kara, 4293, LVC Kinsley. We have 4304, Dakota Jackie. We have 4285, LG Kelly. We have 4283, Run Karama. We have 4305, Dakota Kim, and 4299, Shasta Kara, and 4316, PCC Carolina, and 4282, Run Cozy, and this is full-blood heifers born between January 1st and April 30th, 2022. spectators, please note, Piedmontese animals are rare in the world. The majority of these yearling Piedmontese are limited.
really, really nice class to start off with, and I think just the best way to describe our class winner is impeccable balance. And you read that female in terms of levelness of lines and soundness and still being feminine and attractive, and I think she does all of those things to the highest degree of anything else in the class. From a structure standpoint, there's some small things we can tweak on her. You could relax her. Hits her tracks from her back foot hitting her front foot track where we want her to be, not quite perfect, and she wants to twist out ever so slightly at the ground on her front feet, but just she's the and she hits your attention when she's just very captivating, gets your attention when she comes to the ring. Next female is probably the next most correct in terms of her balance, and you read that female in terms of extension. She's long-sided, she's attractive, she's still nice in terms of how her tail head sets into her hip and that her pin set is high enough, good at the ground. She's probably a class winner. When you watch her, still has some femininity and attractiveness to her. I like where the utter design that we see started on that female. She's also chest floor back into her flank. Female that comes around in third, we can go ahead and lead her out. One that has just a but she's probably the powerhouse of the top three females. Gets a bit more refined in her foot and bone. I like the soundness of this female. She's good in terms of her slopes and angles out of her shoulder. Travels really well. Still really wide when you watch her in terms of base width. Just a touch coarser through her head, neck, and her muscle pattern. The big performance female comes here, and I just she's one that can sure do that. You like the extra length that she has. She's a bit more extended both upward and outward. You like her in terms of soundness. She's really good in terms of how her foot placement is, her foot design. Very attractive from the side as well. And then we get into a female and a couple of females. This one's fairly complete. She's not overwhelming in any one facet. She gets shorter coupled and shorter bone. She's one, though, like I said, not a big hole in her. Want to stretch her out some. Next couple of females, we get into some cattle that are a bit more cylindrical, and what I mean by that is from their chest floor back into their flank they cut up. This female right in front of me is one that you like the added length, but again, she's one from her chest floor back to her flank. Want to body her down some. Same thing with the young man's female making the turn here. You want to drop her down in her rib, just give her a little more softness there. We conclude with a little coarser about their head, neck, and shoulder. Not as attractive as some of those cattle in front of them, but still sound. Could give them a touch more foot. Excellent. Let's put our hands together, show our appreciation there. Really good class.
Is coming up is full-blood junior females born between January 1st and June 30th of 2021. We start out coming in the ring here in a Selena, followed by 4290 LVC Sylvia, 4280 Chuka Rachel, and 4309 TBS Jamira. Class from January 1, born from January 1 to June 30th. As I was saying earlier, there's less than 10,000 head working breeding programs to expand herds, meeting strong demand. The limits overall the number of animals available to the show. Your bulls, a lot of the bulls are on test right now, so these producers have picked out some really good animals, not put them on test to bring them here to the show today. For the unique inactive myostatin gene. It improves carcass performance, meat quality, and is the gene that made our show sponsor certified Piedmontese beef an industrial superstar. Buy the beef. You can buy the beef at Piedmontese.com, or you can go through and click on the link there to buy some of this good Piedmontese beef.
if I were a Piedmontese breeder, I'd be really proud of this class of females, just in terms of cow look and build on these cattle. And the female that we lead with is simply the most complete female in terms of combining some balance and structural integrity and still having rib shape. And I love the udder design. Feminine. She's got some just a little bit of coarseness about her head, but I think that's acceptable because when you look at her from her mid-shoulder back, there's quite a bit of shape there. And just from a balance standpoint, you read her from her chest floor back to her flank, there's enough depth there, really round and bold in her rib, good in her foot design. Female that's probably longer necked and a bit more attractive about her head, neck, and shoulder comes in second. You can go ahead and lead her around. I like the added length of this female. Front, and she's one, when you watch her and when she finally settles down, you can see she's very sound in terms of how she gets out and goes. Might want to spread her teats just a little bit. Both of those females are really maternal and soft in their rib. She's in her teat design and her udder design. She's a bit gathered and tucked, and it shows in her flank as well. She's as big hipped and wide based as any out here, but I think those two females up at the with is very sound in terms of you read her in slopes and angles. She gets out and travels well. She's the more refined, lower pinned female. Doesn't balance, isn't quite as some of the females that stand above her. That was a really nice class of cows. Congratulations to each of you.
So, male champion was 4309. That's TBS Jamara, and your LVC Selena. And our next class coming in is senior female, born between January 1st and December 31st, 2019. And we have one entry, 43.
Bit of a demonstration on this female because I think she's one that can stand it. So as sometimes as a judge we talk about things and you guys in the audience wonder what the heck are they talking about, is why does all that matter, all those kind of things. So when I talk about slope of shoulder and foot things, let me show you some things, and I think she'll stand there. Talk about slope of shoulder, and if you think about in a pasture, if that female, you go out and you expect that female to travel and go out and get water, well, the slope to her shoulder allows that female to be agile, okay? And what I'm talking about on there, let's pull this front foot up, or there you go. Slope of shoulder is from the top of her shoulder here to the point of her shoulder. 5-degree angle, okay? And when that angle, when it sets further forward, sometimes cattle, what it does is they'll get straighter shouldered, is how we define that. And what happens is when they're straighter shouldered, sometimes their knee, she has some curvature and some bend to her knee. But what happens when cattle become straighter shouldered, they tend to kind of stand outside, okay, to compensate. That's how they learn. Foot depth and heel depth, that contributes to longevity on the cattle, and you can see on this female she's really nice in terms of the depth of her heel, and the shape of her heel is nice, the curvature to her hind leg is nice. And I tell kids all the time, if you imagine standing on your tippy toes for 30 minutes or so, it kind of gets to hurting for a while. Where if you are a cow or a bull that's too straight in your hock or too straight in your pastern, that's what it would be like if you had to be in a pasture all the time and then go out and get water and breed. You can see there's some curvature and some bend to her hock. You can look from her dew claw to her heel there. There's some give to her structure. So just I wanted to take a second and talk about those things, because a lot of times we judges talk, what the heck's all that matter? Well, it matters just from a standpoint of going out and these cattle making a living. So this female, I love her hip and underneath her undercarriage. She's really square, and when you add muscle to cattle, you get a rounder rib shape. Okay, when we get cattle that are super deep bodied, sometimes there's not as much muscle shape and they'll be more triangular at the top, and she's actually really, you can see the added muscle that she has because she's very square top and her rib shape is more like a barrel. So a really nice rib. Touch because it has a little bit of tilt to it, but boy, she's feminine, she's sound, she's really attractive, good built kind of female. And I said, you think she's bred to have her third calf? Is that so? And thank you for letting me demonstrate on her. Just wanted to take that opportunity.
Okay, our next class coming up will be the full-blood Grand Champion female and reserve, and that is chosen from the calf and junior. So we'll have 5 coming in that class, and that'll be 4286, which will be Havoc, okay, and which is what's 4293? That's LVC Kelsey, and 4309, which is TBS Jamara, and 42 and 4303. And we'll pick our grand champion from those 5 and reserve grand champion females.
As a judge, you try and find some commonalities and you try and set kind of a direction. And it's interesting to me is in the gene pool here, it's a fairly small gene pool. There's not a so it makes it harder for me to describe the cattle, but there's still some differences that we can talk about. But when you come in, it's kind of fun that you see a lineup. I'm going to and talk about their feet and their bone structure and how they move. And then after that, I want the girls to look like girls and the bulls to look like bulls. So you just begin to find things that separate those cattle. I think there's one female out here that's exceptional in just the combination of traits in terms of muscularity and rib shape and femininity, and still really nice at the ground. And frankly, after that, the decision for reserve gets quite a bit closer. So in contention are the first three, our three class winners. I'll go out and pick our see where we are for reserve. But let's put our hands together. Really nice set of females. Congratulations to all our exhibitors. So she's a single entry female, and then the run in contention for reserve champion are the two remaining females.
Your grand champion full-blood female was 4303, and that was Dakota Carey, Austin Suckup of Suckham's Livestock of South Dakota. And your 4286, Havlick Cattle Company. Could we have another round of applause for our champion and our reserve champion? Our next category coming up is the full-blood bulls, and the full-blood winter bull calf that was born between January 1st and April 30th of 2022. The first one that'll be entering the ring is 4306 Dakota Colt, 4307 TBS Kane. Next is 4298 Shasta Colton, 4284 Run Kula, 4314 PCC Sirloin, and 4315 PCC Big Mac. And that's your winter bulls.
So sorting a class of bulls like this, that come from different parts of the country, and you know, maybe some folks have been in a drought and fought with some challenges. Some people, from a forage standpoint, really had abundant forage and feed. Some might not have. It's kind of like sorting fifth grade boys, is the way I describe it, is that you're going to have some tall ones and some short ones and some medium ones and some round ones. And so, and all that goes through my mind. There's a little birdie that sits on my shoulder and kind of talks about that stuff in my brain. And when I just, you know, the whole time I'm sorting these cows, as I'm going through, I ask myself, which one is the most complete? Which one has the fewest holes? And I guess that's why I end up on the calf that's the class winner here. From a soundness standpoint, from a balance and muscularity standpoint, testicular development, he puts all of those things together to the highest degree. Now, with that said, where I change this guy is, relative to how much frame he has, he could be a little deeper flanked. But when you look at him from a balance standpoint, he has enough shape, he has enough foot and bone, and still really gets out and travels really well. He's very good at the ground. So I think he's just kind of a logical class winner. The next guy is a bit more extreme in terms of his muscularity, in terms of his shape. He looks like a bull in terms of what you see from a testicle development standpoint about his head. When he gets out and travels, he's really stout and sound, as he has a lot of cushion to his structure. A bit rounder, as you would expect, as you add that muscle into his skeleton. I don't see quite the balance in that bull. This calf is one that I like a whole bunch, and he looks to me a bit more juvenile, maybe hadn't been on feed as long, hadn't been pushed as long. What I like about him is we talked about those slopes and angles and cushion a while ago. He might be the soundest of the three bulls of the top three, really, really attractive from the side, but he triangulates too much for me from his chest floor back to his flank. I'd like to drop his flank down. Really, really attractive calf comes here next, and I like this calf with the amount of muscle expression and shape that he has. I'd like to give him a touch more bone. He doesn't quite balance his bone to muscle ratio, so he's a bit more extreme, but I think he's very sound, really long and attractive. And then we get into a couple bulls that are a bit more bunched up and shorter sided, get more refined in their bone work, still very muscular, and I appreciate that. They don't balance as well. This calf that we conclude with is just too short-sighted relative to the others. He's as extreme as any from a muscle expression and shape standpoint. Just want to lengthen that guy out. So really interesting class to sort through. A lot of variation there. Like I said, it's kind of like looking at fifth grade boys.
Okay, once again, your winter bull calf champion was 4307 TBS Kane, and your reserve champion PCC Sirloin 4314. And our next class is full-blood junior bull, born between July 1st and December 31st of 2020. And we have entry number 4295, LVC Coulter. Okay, they've combined the A and B. The second one is 4297, LVC Diablo, and he was born between January 1st and June 30th of 2021. So we have two bulls.
So two bulls that would actually be individual class winners, and then they would become competitive for the division. The bull that comes in first is his advantage is length aside. Let's just pull him up a step. Let's pull that guy up so he'll just walk into being set up. And he, for the muscularity that he has, he's still nice in terms of the point of his shoulder. He's not as bold and round at the point for the amount of shape that he has there. Really long-sided. His neck comes out of his shoulder high. Very attractive individual. He's probably a notch bigger in terms of frame score, and Reed is in terms of length and cannon, length of face. Probably going to contribute a bit more additive in terms of frame, but it balances up really well. Bull that stands here closest to me is more extreme in terms of his muscle shape, and you can see just in terms of his hip, a little rounder hip, and he's got more roundness to his shoulder. He's one that's going to be a bit shorter cannon. And hang on, hang on just a second, hold on, hadn't decided yet. He's going to be a shorter cannon, a bit more mature, easier flesh, or excuse me, a bit earlier maturing kind of bull if you read him to be shorter faced and a little shorter cannon. So when you two individuals, you just have to decide what works for your program in terms of what you need. And I think this is more of just a subjective opinion in terms of type and kind and preference of what you like. Let's put your hands together one time, show our appreciation for the bulls. Two very different types of bulls, these two.
Okay, in the full-blood junior class, your junior bull champion was 4297 Diablo, and your reserve champion was 4295 LVC Coulter. Our next class coming up is senior bulls, and we have 4300 Shasta Herald, and 4308 Dakota Honor.
Two bulls that we like very well in terms of their skeletal build. The young lady's bull, the difference is there's just more drop and more rib shape to that bull. He's simply fuller at this point, and he's one that has a notch more scale to him. And again, you just have to decide what fits your production environment. Young man's bull is extreme in his muscle pattern, lots of shape to that guy. You like that about him. Just a bit tucked up in his flank, not as full today, not as much lower rib shape as we'd like to see. Both very good bulls, very sound, just a little difference in rib shape.
Okay, our next class is full blood senior bull B, born on or before December 31st, 2019. We have one entry in this class, 4281. That's LVC privilege.
As we get into our senior bull classes, a bull that gets out and moves really well. You like him in terms of one that's a better balanced individual. You read him in terms of just a combination of muscle and bone. Where we change this guy is in his foot shape just a little bit. He's one that wants to have just a little more curvature to his toe on his back feet. His front feet are shaped really nice, but I like the balance. And boy, when he gets out and goes, he does do a nice job in terms of being a real athlete. So congratulations to the gentleman.
Now we will select our senior bull champion and senior bull reserve champion. We have 4,300 Shasta Hornado and 4,308 Dakota Honor and 4,281 LVC Privilege. And this will be for senior bull champion and reserve champion of class.
As we bring the bulls back in for our senior division, I think you can be complimented for the soundness that we have in these cattle, and that's something in a lot of breeds that I judge today. By the time you get bulls to this age, you really have some structural issues, and these bulls can get out and travel. You appreciate the skeletal design of them. I think that's a real compliment. Young lady's bull, in terms of foot design, has an advantage, and when you back away and you look at that guy from a balance standpoint, he puts a lot of really good things together. He's going to win our division, so congratulations to her. Then we come back into contention here with the two older bulls. They have a class winner and a second, and there's a little bit of rib shape difference in the two. There's a little bit of foot shape difference in the two. I'm going to use the bull that was second in class. Our division winner, young man to the back here, will be reserved. Congratulations to him.
Okay, our next class will be full-blood grand champion and reserve, chosen from our group of calves, junior bulls, and senior champions, along with the reserves. We have bull number 4307, TBS Kane. We have bull 4314, PCC Sirloin. We have 4297, LVC Diablo, 4295, LVC Coulter, 4308, Dakota Honor, and 4281 LVC Privilege. I'm sorry, I got that wrong. The other one is 4300, Shasta Hornado.
As we come back in, just keeping things consistent. It always starts at the ground, and you work upward in the skeleton, and then you talk about balance and masculinity traits, etc. A little bit of difference in phenotype in these cattle as you look at them. Young lady's bull to the far end wins the third division. That guy has a touch more scale to him, but he really balances up well in terms of muscularity, and still with that muscularity, he blends at the point of his shoulder real well. I think just in terms of combination of traits, he suits me really well. He's going to be our champion bull today, so congratulations to her. We'll bring the bull that was reserve in division on the far end, just bring him into contention. He gets a little bit closer for reserve. You can go a lot of different ways. I think we have even more spread in the cattle when you bring him in. You start talking type and kind. Bull that hit me really hard when he was in division and in class stands in the middle here, young man with the blue halter. I like that individual. I think he's pretty practical. He's going to be our reserve bull today. Let's lead him out. Congratulations to this gentleman.
Okay, your grand champion full-blood bull was 4308 Dakota Honor, and your reserve grand champion full-blood bull was 4297 LVC Diablo. Next, we will move on to our natural lean Piedmontese division. Our natural lean is a two-copy myostatin gene breed that is not a full blood, but it still carries both copies of the myostatin gene. And our first class is winter heifers born January 1st to April 30th. And we have PCC Reba at 4313. We have 4287 HVK Rio. We have 4291 LVC Kayla, 4310 TBS Kayla, and 4301 Shasta Kelsey. And that'll be our winter heifers born January 1st through April 30th of 2022.
top trio of cattle up here are really interesting and challenging to sort through, and this is actually going to be our champion natural lean female. So let's put our hands together, show our appreciation for this class, because this will actually be your champion female. And I think the two females that I start with, the way I'm going to describe them is that they're more conservative in their maturity pattern. I see them to be probably just a touch more moderate in their end point. And I think the female that I use is very consistent with the type that I've talked about in terms of balance, in terms of eye appeal. And I could give her just a touch more flex out of her knee and her shoulder. But when I look at her in terms of muscularity, in terms of rib shape and attractiveness, she's sound enough, but I would lay her knee back just a touch, and that's getting awful critical on a really neat female. And the one that's the next most like her in terms of rib and softness and maturity pattern stands here in second. She's not quite as attractive through her head, neck, and shoulder. She's one that, again, is just a touch straighter out of her knee, and I'd lay that back. But that pair of females are very soft in their rib shape. They're a bit earlier maturing. The one that's a real conundrum for me to decide what to do with is this ultra long-sided female. And the young lady is consistent in her type of cattle, and I commend her for her discipline because they're really attractive and smooth. That one's a little later maturing for me. We give up some flank. She's smaller vulvaed, but I like the soundness of that female. Two females that we conclude with a little more bunched up in terms of muscle pattern, more refined in terms of their bone work. Just want to balance them up a little better. So that's a bit more challenging than some of the other classes that we've seen yet today. Congratulations to all the exhibitors.
Okay, your grand champion natural lean female is 4287 HVK Rio, and your reserve grand champion was 4291 LVC Kayla. Our next class is natural lean winter bulls, born before January 1st and April 30th of 2022, and this will be our last class for the day. And the bull is 4311 TBS Ace.
Young man, single entry bull. I believe we have just one of these, so he'll be our champion in your natural lean division. One that is, you watch this guy come out and move here, the slopes and angles are correct. He's very sound, very attractive from a pattern standpoint. Not as mature as some of the cattle we've seen in terms of his rib shape, but I think there's enough there. And I guess the only thing you might give him just a touch more bone in terms of structure, but still really sound, real attractive individual. And just a closing comment, I commend you guys for the niche that you have in the market from in terms of the myostatin piece here with the Piedmontese cattle. I think we in the beef industry need to find those things that allow us to market cattle and find those advantages. More importantly, I always say that I believe that I'm given an opportunity to get to sort cattle for a reason, and that's to encourage folks to go out and talk about agriculture. And you might say, well, I live in the middle of nowhere and I don't see anybody. But yeah, actually you do. You talk to your doctor, you talk at church, you see people that may be in your community, at school, etc. And you have an opportunity to talk about the fact that we're the stewards of the land, we're the conservationists, we're the folks that actually do things that make a difference in agriculture. So I encourage you folks to have those conversations. We need to make sure we do that, because if we don't, the other side of the story might get told in a different version than what we like, and we might not like their version as well. So please go out and be somebody that visits with folks outside of agriculture about the positive things that we do. And with that said, thanks for the opportunity to sort your cattle today. I've enjoyed it.
I'd like to thank Judge Tremay for being our judge today. Could we have another round of applause for her, please? And also a round of applause for all of our breeders that took the time to select the animals and put on the show for us. I'd also like to thank all you folks for coming to the show. We will be having our annual Spring Bull Sale April 14th and 15th in Broken Bow, Nebraska. If you know of anyone looking for Piedmontese bulls, that'll be the place to come. We'll have select bulls there from the bull test, probably 30 bulls or more. We'll have some seed stock bulls and some commercial bulls. If you want to come out, fellowship with us, have a good meal, and come and purchase your bull for your herd, they'll be available. And once again, thanks everyone for attending the 2023